Morning in Newton, one of the wealthier residential sections of Boston's suburbs, comes in quietly. Margaret Wilson was going over real estate contract laid out on her kitchen island, soaking up morning light streaming through the big windows. Her fingertips were immaculately manicured, and her silk blouse and creased pants seemed to have jumped from a fashion magazine. "Mom, I have to arrive at school early for the sports festival practice." The loud thumping of 12-year-old Emma descending the stairs reverberated in the house. Her blonde hair was pulled up high, and even in sportswear, she had an elegance about her. "Remember to have your breakfast, Emma. Nutrition is all the more necessary before a competition." Maggie smiled as she placed a bowl of granola and yogurt in her hands. David was already off to an early morning meeting, leaving daughter and mother alone to have a serene morning together. "Angela's mom had visited the house you sold last week. Everyone was impressed," Emma explained. Maggie nodded contentedly at her daughter's words. Her reputation in the Newton district had become unshakable. Her name in the real estate profession was known with the confidence that houses listed by Maggie Wilson always sell for top dollar. As the discussion between the mother and daughter went on, Maggie's cell phone rang. Turning the phone over to view the caller, she saw her mother, Eleanor. "Good morning, Maggie. How is the planning for Emma's birthday progressing? I've placed a custom order for a cake. It is in the form of the trophy she received for winning the state science competition last year." Maggie slightly frowned but answered politely. "Thank you, Mother, but I have already ordered from Jackson Patisserie." "Actually, but what I have ordered is special. A special child such as Emma requires a special cake." An everyday cake was sufficient for Linda's son Thomas. But on the line, Eleanor's voice was as forceful as ever. As a retired high school teacher, she had never lost the ability to grade her students. And that ability came in handy for her grandchildren too. "Mother, don't go comparing Thomas and Emma." Maggie spoke softly but firmly. "By the way, is Linda attending the party?" "Well, I don't know. I phoned her yesterday, but she claimed to have been busy with work." "It's just a part-time job, isn't it? If she had actually worked as hard as you did, she would have found a job with better prospects." Maggie took a deep breath. Her sister Linda had gone the opposite direction in life. She had quit college, married at an early age, but divorced a couple of years ago, and was now living on her own with her 13-year-old son Thomas, supporting them herself as an administrative clerk for a neighborhood supermarket. Maggie stared out the kitchen window after hanging up. Linda's apartment was roughly a 30-minute drive through a redeveloped section that had formerly been an old factory district. She had made several offers of financial aid, but Linda always obstinately declined. Linda's pride was so adamant that she had previously stated she would rather work a second part-time job than receive charity from her sister. "Angela's mom is coming to pick me up." Emma's voice cut through Maggie's thoughts. Maggie quickly gave her daughter a goodbye peck on the cheek. "Do your best today. I'm eagerly awaiting your relay race during the sports festival." After Emma departed, Maggie attempted to call Linda once more. On the third ring, she heard her sister's exhausted voice. "Linda, do you actually not have the ability to attend Emma's birthday party?" "Hurry, Maggie. I couldn't swap shifts." And Linda's words fell away. Maggie knew what she was trying to tell her. At family gatherings, Eleanor usually complimented Emma but hurled mean words like, "You could try harder at Thomas." "I know, but I'll send something for Emma." Linda's voice hardened slightly. "Yes, of course, I'll make something special." After hanging up the phone, Maggie recalled the venom in Linda's voice. They were once close sisters. When did this coldness creep into their relationship? Since their father died, Eleanor's darling had always been Maggie, and Linda was the one who needed extra work. And that relationship had been passed down to the next generation. Evening came, and when David came home, Maggie was chatting about birthday party arrangements. Her father-in-law, who owned an IT firm, was always occupied, but reserved some time for his daughter's important day. "Won't Linda and Thomas be visiting?" David scowled. "Emma has been missing seeing Thomas. Linda mentions that she has to work." And Maggie was careful with her words. "Seems Thomas's grades have not been very good of late, And I guess she doesn't want him to get another lecture from Mother. David nodded sympathetically. Eleanor should be more. He swallowed his words. It was better not to criticize his mother-in-law. That evening, Maggie sat on the living room couch, thumbing through a photo album. As she gazed at an old picture of her and her sister, arm in arm, both smiling, she asked herself, what if she were in Linda's place? What if her child was constantly denied and compared? And she couldn't help but feel a tiny twinge of guilt for having ignored this situation for so long. Maggie's large dining room was filled with balloons of all colors and a banner that said, "Happy Birthday, Emma," hung across the table. While catering people set down plates of food, Emma proudly displayed her new tennis racket to her friends. "Everyone, the cake is done." Maggie waved David over to turn off the music. In the living room, over 10 of Emma's schoolmates and neighborhood families had come. Eleanor, wearing her best clothes, had stood beside her granddaughter, proudly telling each visitor, "My granddaughter won a gold medal at the district swim meet this year." The doorbell rang, and Maggie opened it to find a delivery person. A box for Ms. Wilson. Grabbing the box, she saw Linda's name as the sender. Maggie let out a quiet sigh. She had been sure Linda and Thomas wouldn't show up, but she couldn't help feeling a pang of loneliness. In the kitchen, Maggie opened the box and removed a small basket of home-baked cookies and a card. "Happy birthday. Eat as many as you want." It was written in Linda's scrawl. Maggie picked up one cookie and studied it intently. They appeared to be plain chocolate chip cookies, but there was something unnatural in their color, and they were not even baked. As she brought one to her nostrils, she could sense a strong, unpleasant smell combined with the sweet smell of butter and sugar. "Is it something from Linda?" Eleanor spoke behind her. She glared at the basketful of cookies and snorted with disdain. "Well, I suppose she couldn't even do it the easy way and send a store-bought cake. Homemade is definitely more affordable." Mother, Maggie warned. "Linda is busy. However busy, she might at least come for her niece's birthday. You always come for Thomas's birthday, however busy you are." Maggie sniffed the cookie once more and felt apprehensive. Emma has a swimming competition coming up next week. It would be awful if these made her ill. She thought automatically. "I'll leave those here in the kitchen," Maggie said, putting the basket on a top shelf and then going back to the party. Standing in front of the cake, Emma grinned blissfully, surrounded by her friends. While camera flashes illuminated the room, Eleanor jumped up suddenly. "Ladies and gentlemen, your attention if I may have it, please. I'd like to speak about my lovely granddaughter." Maggie seethed inwardly at her mother's words but kept smiling. Eleanor started explaining Emma's recent academic and sporting performance. Her win in the science competition was all thanks to Maggie's parenting style. "My daughter is indeed a great mother," Eleanor went on. "Maybe being a parent is a gift. I never imagined two sisters brought up in the same place could end up so different." Maggie frowned at her mother's remark. This was a jibe at Linda. She got up to divert the attention, calling out, "Let's cut the cake." After the party ended and the last guest had left, Maggie was sipping wine in the kitchen when she called her sister to thank her. "Thank you for the cookies, Linda." Emma was thrilled, she lied. In fact, she hadn't even told Emma about the cookies. "I'm glad." Linda's voice sounded hollow. "How was Mother?" "The usual," Maggie answered honestly, talking about Emma's grades and sports achievements. Linda's silence on the phone hung heavy. Maggie strained to keep her talking. "How's Thomas? How's school?" "He flunked another math test," Linda said, voice drained. "He's trying, but it's tough." Her words trailed off into a sigh. Maggie's chest clenched. How could she stand up for a world in which Emma was endlessly praised and Thomas was blamed exclusively? "If I can assist," Maggie began. "I don't want your sympathy," Linda barked. The connection went dead. Maggie gazed at the cookies on the kitchen shelf. Their bumpy textures, unusual color, faint bitter odor upset her. She couldn't discard them. She relocated them to a container, concealed it deep within the fridge. A hint of doubt crept. The next morning, Maggie sat at her real estate office. Newton's shiny streets shone outside. Contracts stacked on her desk, evidence of her success. Her phone rang. Eleanor. Maggie, Linda's son, flunked another math test, her mother reported, smugness infusing her voice. Maggie's hands clutched her pen. Mother, stop this, she said, voice firm. It's cruel. I'm just stating facts, Eleanor said. Unlike Emma, that boy. Enough, Maggie said, louder than usual. Don't compare Thomas and Emma. They're kids. Eleanor paused, startled. You're too sensitive, she said. I have a client, Maggie said. Talk later. She hung up, head in hands. Memories flooded back. Linda's childhood drawing, brushed off by Eleanor. Maggie's colors are better, she'd said. Linda's piano recital, full of mistakes, Eleanor claimed. Maggie's was perfect. Maggie had savored the admiration, even goaded Linda. Don't be envious, she'd said at 17, brandishing her college acceptance letter. Linda's aggrieved eyes stayed with her. Now Emma shone. Thomas failed. The toxic family pattern was established. Maggie had disregarded it for too long. On the drive home, she pulled into Linda's supermarket. No sight of her sister, but Thomas scooped groceries from a checkout. Thin, tall, tired for 13. He walked as if he carried a load heavier than Emma's. Maggie observed from behind a shelf, pained heart. He was assisting Linda after school. She slipped out unnoticed, guilt gnawing. 3 days passed, and autumn rain pattered against her home office windows. Emma's piano notes, Chopin perfect, wafted from the living room. Maggie sipped coffee, reading contracts. Her phone rang. Linda's name. Unusual. Something grave. Hello, Linda, Maggie replied, scowling. Linda's voice sounded peculiarly bright, strained. Maggie, a question, she asked. What is it? A hesitation, Linda's breathing shaky. Did anyone eat the cookies? Maggie looked at her desk drawer. Inside, a picture of those cookies. Lumpy, badly colored. She'd snapped it that morning, not able to throw them away. Your cookies, Maggie said, voice steady. Did Emma like them? Linda asked, tightness prickly. Maggie stood, moved to the window. Rain streaked the panes. She made an impulsive decision. Actually, Thomas ate them all, she said. He came by earlier. Silence. Then Linda's shriek. Thomas. When? What's he done? Panic fractured her voice. Maggie remained calm, eyes fixed on the rain. This afternoon, school out, she lied. He was hungry. I gave him your cookies. How many? Linda's voice quivered. All 6, Maggie said, elaborating. He devoured them. What's wrong? A thud. Linda had dropped something. Her breathing was labored, barely managed. Are you all right? Maggie asked. It's nothing, Linda stuttered. I have to speak with Thomas. He doesn't go anywhere without speaking with me. Call was over. Maggie stood rigid, phone still clutched in her hand. Her falsehood had attested. Something was in those cookies. Intended for Emma. Her heart pounded, yet her mind cleared. She rushed to the living room. Emma stopped her Chopin, turning. What's wrong, Mom? Aunt Linda is coming over, Maggie said. There's a problem with Thomas. Emma's eyes grew wide. Thomas hasn't been to school, she said. I heard he had a cold. Maggie looked at her daughter's pure face. Emma and Thomas hardly said a word, kept apart by Eleanor's words. I need a favor, Maggie said. When Linda shows up, let's talk by ourselves. Upstairs, do homework. Emma nodded, bewildered. Is Thomas all right? I don't know, Maggie replied. That's why we have to discuss this. Emma went upstairs. Maggie took the cookie jar from the refrigerator. 6 still-wrapped cookies, their aroma pungent now. She placed them on the dining table, heart racing. Rain boomed outside, resonating with her thoughts. Memories flashed. Linda and Maggie as children, exchanging clothes, giggling in their backyard. Then the rift, Linda's eyes dulling with each of Eleanor's compliments to Maggie. The doorbell. Maggie jerked awake, opened the door. Linda stood there, dripping wet, white, eyes wild with terror. Where's Thomas? She panted. Is he all right? We need a hospital. Stay calm, Maggie said, her voice steady. Thomas isn't here. Linda stiffened, confusion creasing her face. What? You said. I lied, Maggie said, unyielding. Thomas didn't come. No one ate your cookies. Linda's face changed, relief, then anger, then shame. Tears flowed as she collapsed into a chair. How could you? She breathed. Maggie took her to the dining table. The cookies remained there, uneaten. What are in them, Linda? Maggie asked. Silence hung, rain filling it. Linda's red eyes locked with Maggie's. Laxatives, she said, voice cracking. Strong ones but not harmful. Just to make Emma ill before her swim competition. I'm so sorry. What was I thinking? Maggie's hand lay on Linda's shaking shoulder. Anger should have flooded. Her sister attempted to hurt her daughter. But grief poured in. Why? Maggie asked, voice low. Linda raised her eyes, red-rimmed, like the injured girl of their childhood. Mother's approval of Emma, her disapproval of Thomas. It's us again. You were always ideal, I was the disappointment. Emma's victories bury Thomas. I wanted her to fall down just once. Maggie's throat constricted. She saw her part in it. I'm responsible too, she said. I let Mother's favoritism grow. I thought it was natural, even just. Linda's shoulders trembled, hands over her face. The cookies hung between them, accusatory silence. Maggie rose, voice low. I'll put on tea. She went to the kitchen, put water on to boil, set out cups. Anger, sadness, compassion churned. Her strategy was taking shape. Linda's confession was the beginning. The real work, repairing their family, was to come. Maggie put a steaming mug of tea in front of Linda. Rain beat against the windows. Why did you call? She asked, voice soft. Linda wiped her tear-stained face. I regretted it, she stammered, voice shaking. The moment I sent those cookies, I despised myself. I couldn't take it back. You intended to warn me? Maggie asked gently. Linda shook her head, eyes cast down. But when you told me Thomas ate them, I panicked. I thought I hurt him instead. She wept. What sort of mother am I? I should shield Thomas. Maggie grasped her sister's icy, trembling hand. How's Thomas really? Linda exhaled, burdensome. He's failing at school, she said. They call him a failure. Being Emma's cousin makes it worse. Teachers say, your cousin's so gifted. Kids mock him. Mother says, why not try harder like Emma? He studies late, but it doesn't show. He started skipping school. Maggie's chest tightened. Emma's success crushed Thomas. I didn't know it was that bad, she said. Linda's voice sharpened. I should cheer your success, but I'm jealous. Your perfect house, husband, daughter, it stings. Maggie met her eyes. My life's not perfect, she said. David works all the time. We discuss logistics, not emotions. Emma's under pressure to be perfect. Last week, she wept over one incorrect math problem, afraid of Mother's disapproval. Linda blinked, shocked. Emma. Perfect Emma. Maggie nodded. Our issues are due to Mother, don't they? Linda smiled faintly, the first genuine smile. Always, she replied. Maggie opened the cookie box. We don't need these, she said. She threw them into the trash, the sound final. Linda stood there, shocked. How can you forgive me? She asked. Forgiveness is a process, Maggie said truthfully. But I get it. We need to repair our family. How? Linda asked, hopelessness in her tone. First, I'll find out about Thomas, Maggie replied. His interests, his assets. I'll get Emma to get along with him. And Mother, our stepmother. We'll speak to her about what she said. Linda's eyes grew wide. Will she listen? I don't know, Maggie replied. But we have to try. Footsteps stopped them. Emma walked in, uncertain. Sorry, Mom, I completed my homework, she said. She spotted Linda, smiled shyly. Hi, Aunt Linda. Linda froze, guilt flashing. Hi, Emma, she said, forcing a smile. Happy birthday. Sorry I'm late. Emma stepped closer. Thanks, she said. You sent cookies, right? Mom mentioned them. Maggie cut in. They broke in transit, she said. Emma frowned, then brightened. That's okay. How's Thomas? He's missed school. Linda stared, surprised. You're worried about him? She asked. Yeah, Emma said. We meet in the library sometimes. He helped with my history report. He knows tons about old coins. Maggie and Linda exchanged looks. A hidden bond between cousins. Maggie said, inspired. Let's have Thomas for lunch Saturday. Emma's eyes widened. Awesome, she said. I'll introduce him to my new game. He can speak of his coins. Linda blinked. You know his collection of coins? The Morgan dollar? Emma asked. So cool. Maggie sensed a shift. Hope glimmered in this connection. We'll see you Saturday, she said to Linda. A new step for us. Linda's eyes shone, not with shame but possibility. 6 months later, summer sun bathed Maggie's backyard. Smoke drifted from the barbecue. David and Thomas cooked, chuckling over smoking burgers. Emma took pictures of roses with her new camera. Here, said Linda, pouring lemonade into Maggie's cup. The sisters sat, observing. Thomas's photo show was successful, Maggie said, smiling. Linda nodded. The photo club transformed him, she said. His teacher said, I didn't know he had this ability. Maggie took a sip of her drink. Emma's learning from his pictures too, she said. That Saturday lunch ignited change. Maggie recognized Thomas's eye for detail, gave him a camera. Emma had study tips to share. Thomas instructed her on composition. Has mother changed? Linda asked softly. Maggie nodded. She attended Thomas's exhibition, she said. Her words were moving. Facing Eleanor was strained. Maggie and Linda stood before her side by side, voices firm. Your words hurt Thomas, Maggie said. They repeat the way you treated Linda. Ends here. Eleanor fought back, defensive. I'm challenging them to be better, she said. You're shattering them, Linda said. Thomas's photography win softened her. She began praising his work, cautiously. We're finding balance, Maggie said. Linda squinted at the sun. Not perfect, though. Maggie laughed. No such thing, she said. My perfect family was a lie. The sisters now met monthly for breakfast. They shared old memories, new fears. Linda's new art college job, recommended by Maggie, brought stability. Mom, look, Emma called, showing her camera. This rose shot uses Thomas's composition trick. Maggie admired the photo, perfectly framed. Great job, Emma, she said. Thanks, Thomas. Thomas waved from the grill, shy but proud. He stood taller, smiled more. Dinner's ready, David called. The family gathered, plates clinking. Maggie etched the moment in her heart. Not flawless but honest. The cookies forced truth to surface. Linda's hand touched Maggie's shoulder. They smiled, sisters again. Revenge isn't about hurting back. It's about healing what's broken with courage and truth. Family becomes stronger when we build each other up, not tear each other down. Maggie and Linda made betrayal turn into a fresh start. That barbecue moment, Thomas smiling, Emma's pictures, hit me straight in the heart. What was your favorite part? Leave it in the comments. Hey, like if this made you feel something. Share with anyone rebuilding family ties. Subscribe and ring the bell for more stories of victory and truth. See you soon.